How to make a scary horror game. You know, horror games these days have got a big problem. And like most of my problems, it stems from my pants. My britches are bone dry. Not even a tinkle is squeezed from my urethra by most horror games I play. Now, is this my fault for playing so many? Nah. But how can we change this? Well, let's ask my unpaid intern. Coconut, your Discord server linked below is so freaking epic, but how do we make horror games scary? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can go back to your closet now. Point numero uno, don't show your hand. What does that even fucking mean? Well, I'm glad you asked me. Again, essentially just don't give the player enough information to fully predict what's gonna happen next. Let's take a look at some examples to get a clearer picture of whatever the fuck I'm trying to talk about. Outlast, my dearly beloved, drops the fucking ball and shits its little pants on this one. The first enemy encounter is the same as the last all the way through. Whereas something like Amnesia, while still being just as linear, provides unique encounters with different monsters that do different things. I'm sure we all remember the water monster and how Eddie made us. Anyway. Lethal Company! The absolute pinnacle of not sucking at the thing that I said is pay attention. But before we get lethal, let's just break down my point even more. When making a horror game, just think about everything as a list of factors, essentially what can even happen to scare the player. So in Outlast, there would be something like, where does the enemy go? Are they gonna find you? Are you gonna be able to escape? Yeah, that's about it. Nice one, Outlast. Lethal Company! Trousers, fucking trousers. Now here's a fat list of factors. You don't know what's gonna be in there, where they're gonna be, when they're gonna spawn, what hazards might be in there, like turrets, landmines, steam leaks, spike traps, secure doors, and locked doors, the interior type, the interior layout, the exterior monsters, the weather. God, I could fucking keep going, but you already get the goddamn point. I feel like I'm gonna vomit. Outlast just fucking loses me immediately, but Lethal Company over here just keeps it going, never shows its hand. Even once you know every last thing about these monsters, even when I've seen literally all there is to see, this game can never show its hand, can never stop surprising you since there's so many different things that can happen in so many different ways, it's unpredictable. And therefore the pinnacle of fear of the unknown, which like I said in my video about the fear of the unknown, it is the cream of the crop when done right. So ensure that your game has a lot of factors per se, or at least a lot of variety in its threats or ways that it scares the player, so it doesn't become stagnant, so your player still has something to fear. Never let them predict what's gonna happen next, because that just fucking ruins the whole goddamn thing. It just sucks every last ounce of fear out of the game. Oh, I was gonna make a joke about sucking cock. Pretentious point number 2. Fuck. Real risk. Have you ever been scared? Like scared? Not due to some digital critter shouting ear-rupturing sound waves, but because of something real. Hey, that's true fear right there. So, hypothetically, what if he could bring that real-world risk and push it somewhere else? Yeah, you know, that sounds pretty cool. In Lethal Company, dying isn't just an encounter with one of those sexy monsters, it causes a lot of real-world problems for you as the player. It's not just don't go back to the checkpoint or a simple respawn system. If you die, you're out for the rest of the round. You drop all your items, you can no longer communicate with your team, and that's one less person alive to help out, which can be a serious issue. And in solo runs, my god, the fucking fear is palpable. If you die once to fucking anything, your whole run is just fucked. Gone. Hours of work just eradicated like some kind of lethal abortion. That really ramps up the horror. Because it's not just being scared of something popping out and going, but now all of these things present an actual threat to something you care about a lot. While this can't work for all games, of course, it's good to try and add a system like this where you can make the player fear something outside of the game. Still, be careful as to not make this become annoying, because here's a little bonus tip: your horror game will be negative spooky if at any point it becomes annoying, so keep that in mind when you're I don't fucking know. Are you making a horror game? And you're taking advice from me? So don't just make the player fear the spooky encounter, make them fear the consequences of the spooky encounter. Oh, I'm so fucked. Oh my god. Point number 2192! Comfort zones. I'm sure you've heard about how it's like a good idea for horror games to give the player some kind of safe zone, so they have time to recover and don't end up completely desensitized to the boner spiking spooks. But I feel there's another crucial thing that comes with safe zones, and that's unsafe zones. Once more, my friends, pals, and gooberoonies, Lethal Company has moons of tier 1, 2, 3, and technically 4, but shut the fuck up. Each tier of moon has better scrap, more money for those higher quotas, however, they're also more dangerous. However, you don't have to go to them. You can exist happily ever after on the safer moons, well, only for so long at least, but even though progression may force you into these dangerous moons, there's nothing that physically puts you on them without your input. You make the choice to not just step out of your comfort zone, but to full-on leap out of it. And when that choice to go somewhere unsafe is guided by the player alone and not just because, you know, you literally can't go anywhere else, the horror is drastically improved. It makes the player feel like they're taking a risk, which they are, but now they're the ones actually taking it. Like I said, it's their own choice here. So it's not just about zones being safe and not so safe. Having the player be able to control how much danger they wish to put themselves in and actually feel the risk they're taking can excel your horror to whole new levels of panty-soiling action. So now, as I always fucking do for some reasons, let's summarize! Don't show your hand. Think about every spooky or deadly detail as a list of factors. The longer that list, the more things that can happen to make the player go, "Argh!" It's all about removing that predictability when it comes to encounters such as enemies so that players can predict what's going to happen next and help against them getting annoyed at the repetition of all the same shit. Real risk should make the consequences of your game more substantial than just a minor setback. Obviously, this is harder to do for many different kinds of games, but just think about something the player would dread over. Like in Lethal Company's case, you're out until the end of the day, and in solo, you'll lose your entire run. That's some freaky fucking stuff, but it can sometimes teeter on the edge of being annoying, which is something to be careful of. Finally, think about comfort zones. Have a zone that's 100% safe so the player can actually know what that feels like, and then introduce areas or modes that are progressively more and more dangerous. But ensure the player has the option to pick, whether this be some kind of difficulty mode or whatever the fuck, I don't know what you're doing. Like with Lethal Company, who I just can't help but suck off every 6 seconds, you get to choose what moons you'll be landing on. If the player is given the choice and not forced into it, they can take the time to dread it, to build up fear around it. Don't let the player predict what's gonna happen. Make them fear the consequences of failing one of your delightfully spooky encounters and give them the choice to force themselves further and further away from the safety of their comfort zone. And that is how you do the thing that I was talking about. Okay, join the Discord. Bye. I love you.